The Philadelphia 76ers have been trapped in a cycle of mediocrity for years, always teetering on the edge of playoff contention, without ever producing a deep run.
And the Boston Celtics are moving on, ending Philadelphia's season.
Frustrated by their perpetual state of near misses and early postseason exits, the Sixers decided it was time for a revolutionary change. The Sixers brought in new general manager Sam Hinkie, a 35-year-old analytics whiz chosen to steer the team towards greatness. Hinkie decided that he would not settle for mediocrity. He took the strategic approach to revive the Sixers franchise by opting to tank the team in order to acquire valuable draft picks. He orchestrated a series of groundbreaking trades, systematically parting ways with seasoned veterans in exchange for an abundance of draft picks. With each move, Hinkie planned for the future, envisioning a rise from the disgrace of a team that he created. The Sixers called this plan the process.
The phrase tanking, the process is Latin for tanking.
Take that trust the process lingo and go to hell with it.
The Sixers' strategic gamble began to work, as they found themselves among the bottom 3 teams in the NBA for the next 3 seasons. This deliberate descent allowed them to accumulate a plethora of high draft picks, sure to be transformed into valuable assets that could shape the foundation of a future dynasty. There was a crucial challenge that plagued the Sixers throughout this process: the art of selecting the right players on draft day. In 2013, at 6th overall, the first pick of the process was Nerlens Noel, a promising center from Kentucky. Noel's rookie season was ruined by a devastating knee injury, forcing him to sit out the entire year. Though he showed flashes of potential in his second and third seasons, he failed to rise above mediocrity. It was during his third year with the Sixers that Noel enjoyed his most notable campaign, averaging 11.1 points and 8.1 rebounds per game. However, this peak performance would prove to be the summit of his time in Philadelphia. Nerlens Noel never managed to establish himself as a consistent NBA starter, becoming an unfortunate misstep for the Sixers. Disheartened by the lack of progress, the team made the decision to part ways with him just 3.5 years into his professional career, trading him to the Mavericks in exchange for a protected draft pick. Nerlens was the first of many draft misses for the Sixers. Just a few picks later, CJ McCollum went, who would have been a much better selection for the Sixers. In the same draft, at 11th overall, the Sixers selected point guard Mikal Carter-Williams. This draft pick looked like it would work, as his first year, Mikal Carter-Williams averaged 16.7 points per game, 6.2 rebounds per game, and 6.3 assists per game. This was good enough to earn him Rookie of the Year honors. However, as time progressed, it was apparent that Mikal Carter-Williams was just a product of putting up inflated stats on a bad team. The Sixers saw a window to move Mikal Carter-Williams in his second season and quickly shipped him out to Milwaukee. Mikal Carter-Williams ended up failing to live up to the hype he generated in his rookie season and was another draft bust for the Sixers. The Sixers with this pick could have taken a future NBA MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who went 4 picks later in this draft. In the following year, the Sixers faced another crucial draft decision. With the 10th overall pick, they selected Elfrid Payton, passing up the opportunity to acquire the talented Zach Lavine, who was still available. However, the Sixers swiftly orchestrated a trade, sending Payton to acquire Dario Saric, the 12th overall pick. Saric, a versatile player, fulfilled a valuable role for the Sixers during their transitional phase. His contributions, though not extraordinary, allowed him to secure a starting position on the team once the team began to flourish. This was only after many complications with entering the league. Saric missed his first 2 seasons in Europe, which was an unspoken secret strategy to the process. Sam Hinkie often elected to draft injured players who would not be able to play due to that or other complications. A good example is Joel Embiid, who missed his first 2 seasons with injury. This allowed the Sixers to gather players but perform poorly, which in turn allowed them to accumulate more draft picks. But there was one hiccup to that strategy. You have to make good draft picks for it to work. While Saric eventually became a starter, his tenure with the Sixers was relatively short-lived, as they traded him soon after. It's fair to say that he wasn't a colossal miss for the team. Nevertheless, in retrospect, the Sixers might have pondered whether it would have been wiser to select Zach LaVine instead. In 2015, the Sixers found themselves in possession of yet another valuable top pick, selecting Jahlil Okafor from Duke University as the 3rd overall pick. Okafor's arrival sparked a glimmer of hope, as his early performances hinted at the potential of greatness. He made an immediate impact, averaging an impressive 17.5 points per game, along with 7.5 rebounds, which earned him a coveted spot on the NBA rookie first team. However, as history would reveal, Okafor's success was concealed by the context in which it occurred. Playing for a struggled team, his statistics sometimes appeared inflated, raising questions about their true value. The Sixers, aware of this, eventually made the decision to trade Okafor just 2.5 years into his career. In return, they acquired veteran Trevor Booker, whose underwhelming performance led to his departure from the NBA after that season. Sadly, Jahlil Okafor's journey took a downward spiral, and he eventually found himself at the bottom of the league at a surprisingly young age, eventually leaving the NBA before reaching the age 25. This turn of events solidified Okafor as another significant draft disappointment for the Sixers, especially considering the players that were available at that spot. In hindsight, the team may have chosen to select the likes of Kristaps Porzingis, who went on to achieve way more success in the league. In 2017, the Philadelphia 76ers were fortunate to secure the 3rd overall pick. Despite their initial position, they were determined to acquire the number 1 pick and pursued a trade with the Celtics. Eventually, a deal was reached, exchanging the 3rd pick and a future first-round pick for the top selection. With their coveted pick, the Sixers chose Markelle Fultz, a point guard from Washington. Unfortunately, Fultz failed to live up to the expectations of a number 1 pick. During his time in Philadelphia, he struggled to perform, averaging a meager 8.2 points per game, while shooting a disappointing 27% from three-point range and 53% from the free throw line. Fultz's career with the Sixers was plagued by injuries, preventing him from showcasing the athleticism and confidence that he had demonstrated in college. Adding to the disappointment, Fultz only played 33 games over 2 seasons before being traded. The Sixers' decision to trade the 3rd overall pick, which turned out to be Jayson Tatum, and a future first for Fultz, showcased their unwavering confidence in him. In hindsight, selecting Tatum at number 1 would have been a wiser choice, as Fultz's performance led to his eventual departure from Philadelphia for significantly less value than what was invested in him. In the following year, the Sixers made a remarkable pick by selecting Mikal Bridges at the 10th overall spot. Throughout his NBA career, Bridges has excelled as a modern-day 3-and-D player, boasting an impressive 43% three-point shooting in 1 season and earning all defensive honors. Unfortunately, Bridges' time in Philadelphia was incredibly short-lived, as he was swiftly traded for Zhaire Smith and a future first-round pick. This trade turned out to be a regrettable decision for the Sixers, as Smith played in just 13 games before departing from the NBA before the age of 21. Furthermore, the additional first-round pick acquired in the trade was ultimately traded away in a future deal without being utilized. Instead of having a talented and versatile wing player who would have fit well on the team, the Sixers ended up trading Bridges for virtually nothing. Between 2013 and 2018, the Sixers amassed a collection of top draft picks, although many of them didn't pan out as expected. Nonetheless, amidst these disappointments, 2 picks stood out, showcasing the potential to form a formidable duo that could anchor a future championship team. In 2014, the Sixers secured Joel Embiid as the 3rd overall pick, while in 2016, they chose Ben Simmons as the undisputed number 1 selection. While Embiid endured a 2-year absence from the NBA due to injuries and Simmons sat out his rookie season, by the 2017-18 campaign, both players had regained their health and displayed immense promise, emerging as one of the league's most electrifying young duos.
Embiid from Simmons.
Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have superstar potential.
Those two could be all-time greats, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They are phenomenal.
In the 2017-18 season, the Sixers finally looked like they were in the winning phase of the process. They went on a crazy run, winning their last 17 games to finish the season 52-30, and they rolled over the Heat in the first round of the playoffs. The Sixers ended up losing to the Boston Celtics in the second round, led by rookie Jayson Tatum. Tatum was already making the Sixers pay for not selecting him. Although the Sixers were still very young, they had nothing to be ashamed of for this loss. While still loaded on draft picks from their tanking days, and with two young stars on the rise, the Sixers' future looked bright. In 2018-19, the Sixers started the year hot, and the Sixers decided it was finally time to go all in and to acquire Jimmy Butler, and then Tobias Harris. Boasting a formidable starting lineup consisting of Ben Simmons, JJ Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, the Sixers quickly emerged as championship contenders. Throughout the season, they showcased their dominance on both ends of the court, securing 51 victories and delivering a convincing win against the Nets in the first round of the playoffs. However, their path crossed with Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors in the second round, and despite valiant efforts from the Sixers' stars, they were outmatched by Leonard's exceptional performance, averaging 34.7 points per game in the series. Ultimately, the Sixers' season ended in heartbreaking fashion. One problem that occurred during this season was figuring out who would dominate the ball. Ben Simmons was used to running the whole offense and dishing the ball out to the shooters. However, the Sixers ran the ball more through Joel and Jimmy Butler in a half-court centered game. They shot much more mid-range shots, and Ben Simmons' usage rate went from 22.1 to 16.6. Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler did not see eye to eye, and by the time free agency rolled around, the Sixers had to make difficult decisions. Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler were both free agents. Ultimately, due to the rift created between Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler, the Sixers decided to let Jimmy Butler walk and just sign Tobias Harris. They also brought in Al Horford, who ended up being a huge waste of money and a terrible fit alongside Embiid. Following the departure of Jimmy Butler, the pressure fell upon Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to elevate their games to new heights. Embiid continued his steady improvement each season, while Simmons attempted to incorporate a three-pointer into his skill set. At the end of the 2019 through 2020 season, Simmons cautiously tested his three-point abilities, eventually attempting 7 shots from beyond the arc. However, the season was disrupted by the pandemic, leading to the NBA's relocation to the bubble. Unfortunately, Simmons suffered an injury, and when the playoffs arrived, the Sixers lacked momentum, resulting in a crushing sweep by Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics. These playoffs were particularly difficult for Sixers fans, witnessing Tatum's impressive performance, a player who they could have had, while also seeing Jimmy Butler, their former player, carry his team to the NBA Finals in one of the most dominant playoff runs in recent memory. In the 2020 through 2021 season, the Philadelphia Sixers made significant changes, bringing in head coach Doc Rivers to revitalize the team. They also made a successful draft pick with Tyrese Maxey at 21st overall and traded away Al Horford's wasteful contract for Danny Green, who proved to be a reliable starter. Combined with Joel Embiid's remarkable progression from an all-star player to a runner-up MVP and Tobias Harris delivering his best season with the Sixers, they secured the top seed. They encountered no issues in the first round, easily besting the inferior Wizards team. However, the elephant in the room was on full display in the second series versus the Hawks. During these playoffs, Ben Simmons was even more scared to shoot the ball than usual, only attempting an average of 7.9 shots per game. Worst of all, Ben Simmons was awful from the free throw line, shooting 34% in the playoffs. Teams began to initially foul Ben Simmons, causing the Sixers to have to pull him late into games. The Sixers blew a 20-point lead to the Hawks in Game 7 of the conference semifinals, where Ben Simmons only scored 5 points on 4 shot attempts. After this series, the drama began in Philly. Doc Rivers said this about Ben Simmons.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now.
Following the season, Ben Simmons requested a trade, and the Sixers managed to secure an excellent value by acquiring superstar James Harden for him. In the first season, the team struggled a bit to get the chemistry going, and Embiid missed part of their second-round matchup against the Heat. The Sixers watched Jimmy Butler destroy his old team once more, as they failed to get out of the second round. In this series, the Sixers needed anybody from their rotation to step up, and their third option, Tobias Harris, to contribute, but his 9, 13, 12, and 14-point games to end the series were not worth the money they were paying for him. After the last game, Jimmy Butler had this to say to make matters worse.
Tobias Harris over me?
The Sixers entered the 2022 through 23 season with a renewed determination following a tragic loss. Joel Embiid and James Harden formed a dynamic duo, dominating the league in pick-and-roll points. Harden showcased his exceptional playmaking skills by leading the NBA in assists per game, while Embiid reigned supreme as the league's leading scorer, and eventually earning the coveted MVP title he had long pursued. With newfound hope, Philadelphia swept the Nets in the first round. Then the Sixers found themselves in a huge series versus the Celtics in round 2. Harden stepped up admirably in game 1 of the series, channeling his prime self and dropping 45 points on an impressive 57% shooting to secure the crucial win. The Sixers climbed to a 3-2 series lead against the Celtics. They were just one step away from the Eastern Conference Finals. However, when the pressure peaked in games 6 and 7, both Embiid and Harden faltered. Embiid's scoring plummeted, averaging just 20.5 points per game on 38% shooting, a drastic decline from his regular season performance. He lacked assertiveness and was terrible in crunch time during the pivotal Game 6. Adding to the disappointment, Harden struggled immensely, averaging a mere 11 points on a dismal 26% shooting. Game 7 turned out to be a blowout, as Jayson Tatum, the very player the Sixers could have had, poured on 51 points to seal their fate. Once again, Philadelphia let down their fans, squandering a golden opportunity to break free from the second round and leaving a bitter taste of defeat. The process was never a bad strategy. However, the Sixers have not executed it perfectly. They had many opportunities to draft star players. Mismanagement also resulted in stars walking and players not progressing. And when the lights were the brightest, each year the Sixers have crumbled. Many questions still surround the Sixers. How much longer does Joel Embiid have? What will they do with Tobias Harris? Will James Harden return? And did the Sixers fail the process? Only time will tell if this was a complete failure. But opportunities are running out, and the Sixers need to capitalize before it's too late. If you want to learn more about Ben Simmons, check out this video.